guys, my name is RoxTytan, and today we're going to be looking at the match that was played during Week 5 of the first cycle of Season 3 between Synapse and Wrath. This is a very exciting match, and is especially relevant since Wrath will be the only Masters team playing in the Challenger Cup coming up this weekend. So let's jump right into it. And as we jump into the first clip here, we have a quick Wrath launch, controlling the disc a little bit, breaking up the double chain, passing it down to mid, getting stopped by the back chain on the side of Synapse. It's going to be Caption picking it up, moving the disc forward into the offensive zone. Now, this clip is pretty long, so we're going to do it in two parts. And the first thing is the way that Wrath handles the defense, and then the way that Synapse's double chain works. So you can see they've got this first double chain pressuring this back triangle, putting pressure on, making it, giving them not a lot of room to breathe. And so usually when you have one stack on the field, it's pretty important, especially as the team possessing the disc, to really pay attention to that stack. And but if you're the defense, you can also take advantage of that attention you're getting. If you see all three of these players, and you can't see the player over here, but you can definitely see these three players, are all looking at that stack. Keep an eye on it, keep an eye on the disc, making sure they don't lose possession, and trying to make sure they don't have a turnover to this fast stack and the pressure that they're applying. So because everybody's attention is turned to that stack, and as soon as they lose the disc, the back stack is on them immediately. And because the players were so preoccupied with paying attention to that stack and making sure they don't get stolen from, they don't even notice that the back stack is probably lurking. And again, you can't see because the minimap's not available. But probably lurking somewhere around these blocks, maybe boosting in later already. So that they weren't aware that this player was not as good as a pass as he appeared to be, because the stack was on him immediately. And again, even though the players on Wrath try to recover it, the stack again gets there too quickly, and it turns into a nice Synapse turnover, and they move into the offensive zone. And then we have a pass going over to Tony on the floor. Tony's going to hit the pass to Zach on the roof. Unfortunately, it's going to go a little bit ahead of him, so it's going to bounce down into the hands of Caption. Caption's going to back pass it over to YouTube, and they're going to slow down their offense. He's going to move up the disc, pass it to the floor. He's going to find Caption on the back, and Caption's going to put it in the pocket there for the 2 points. Now, another thing that happens in this play is right here. They get this disc here, and unfortunately, so this pass goes off the ceiling and misses. But what we do see, Link is sitting here, kind of covering this lane. Caption approaches him instead of floating away, trying to get open. Caption actively challenges the defender, trying to win a stun. Now, if he gets open the floor, then maybe that's an option. That's definitely something you can do. But because he challenges Link, wins the 1v1, he gets a stun on him, then that frees it up so that because in the event that the pass misses, which it does, Caption, because he won the 1v1, frees himself up to get that disc and have a pretty easy pressure-free pass back to his teammate there. So even though he could have easily avoided flying into this defender, because we can see Link stops in the block, and he's got Caption flies up to him and actively challenges the 1v1. And because he was proactive in taking that 1v1, he freed up a lot of space that even though that pass did go a little bit wide, he gave him great time, gave him a lot of time, and they could continue their offense without any difficulties. And eventually, again, finding the offense there. And now one last thing, in the bubble, the pass goes into the bottom, and we can see, good job. Zach pressures up because he's got an anchor this close to the disc, already inside the 2-point bubble. That's very threatening for the defense. But however, Caption is open on the back, and so Wrath does overextend a bit here. Now Zach is definitely threatening a lot here by having an anchor inside the bubble. And as soon as he pushes off especially, they're going to be really threatened by that. But he does find the pass to Caption. And Link did do a decent job of not committing onto Zach. He held the block and waited. Unfortunately, he wasn't, his eyes were still very much glued to the disc, so he didn't actually know where the pass was going to go. And so when the pass did go to Caption, he wasn't quite in a good enough position to get to the disc. But decent discipline, but unfortunately not quite enough, as Synapse does get the 2 points after that play. And we're going to go into the second clip here. We have Wrath pushing an offense, taking it nice and slow, passing it back, baiting the defender out, moving up. Link now moves up, finds the pass to Chuck on the floor, and Chuck with the nice backboard shot to get 2 points for Wrath. Now, this was actually a pretty good play by, a really good defensive play by Synapse. If we take a closer look at what actually happened here, is the back pass happened right around here. They had somebody pressure the disc pretty much immediately. So as soon as he receives the disc here, you can see the disc is received and then is immediately pressured. So he has to make that quick pass. Luckily, it does still do good. But then we can see here, right as Link makes his prep pass, he's taken out by caption there. We can see Link's name goes dark on the scoreboard. That means he's been punched. We can see the player's on the floor. He's at a very tight angle. This is a hard shot to make, absolutely, especially if you're shooting it straight on. We can see again, Zach knows that this is a tough angle for the defense, so he's going to trust his goalie to take that 1v1. And so instead of allowing this potential cross pass, he's going to take out this player. So Chuck has no other options because, again, we saw Link got stunned and he's still stunned. We saw Air Knight get stunned on the cut. So Chuck has no option. This is a really good... So because Chuck has no options for any cut passes, and he's at a really tough angle, where he's right below the goal, he's either shooting basically a zero angle on the goal, or he's hitting the backboard like he does. And so this is pretty much as good as an opportunity as you're ever going to get as a goalie to dive the defender. They're pushing at an angle that's extremely hard to hit, and usually not all strikers are ready for the goalie to dive them. So Chuck has to do... So this is a really good job by Synapse creating this opportunity for the goalie to dive the striker. But unfortunately, again, the striker is ready for it. He does a great job recognizing the position he's in and realizing that, again, that shot is extremely difficult to make, but the shot that's not as hard to make is hitting that part of the backboard and getting this dunk in. So that is one of the weaknesses of diving as a goalie. But again, in this situation, you can't really fault the goalie here because this situation is pretty much as good as it's ever going to get as far as diving a striker here. It's just unfortunate that Chuck did such a nice job reading the situation and taking his pretty much his only out in the situation, actually. We'll move into clip number 3, and we have Synapse with possession, moving it up into the Wrath's defensive zone. Wrath again playing this bubble defense, holding on. We see the goalie gets stunned out temporarily there, but there's no threat of a shot, so it's not a big deal. The pass goes over to Caption. Caption finding the back pass over to their back line. Finding a pass again over to the striker, and it goes in off of, I think, the goalie's head there. Now, it's important here that we want to pay attention to, actually, is the way that... I actually don't know who it is. I think it's whoever this player on the ceiling is. That looks like is Tony on the ceiling. And we see him moving on and takes out the goalie here. Now, what's important about this is even though this, again, this nobody took a shot on this goal, the shot's clearly not open. They're not in a position to shoot this. But what's happening is the way that Wrath is playing defense, they're playing a very conservative bubble defense. They're not really leaving the bubble. They've got 2 players posted up on either side. And then... scroll back a little bit further, we can see again as the player goes to the ceiling, we have another player just up here as you saw moving up to cover him. And so what you can do if you're trying to break into the bubble and you're being man covered like the player on the roof is, one of the absolute best things you can always do is to take that player towards the goal. Because look, you can see here the player again, he's just holding onto his legs. Tony doesn't really, he's just got stunned. You can see actually he's still got the effect of being freshly stunned. He's got a player on his legs. He's not in a good position where he can receive any passes. So instead of trying to get open for a pass, he's going to just collapse the defense. And how he does that is he jumps into the goal. So now all of a sudden the goalie's stunned. He's causing disruption. And that defender is no longer in a good spot to defend the goal. Because all of a sudden, this goes from being a 4v4 where they're on the ceiling trying to get open, having a 1v1, to a 3v3 situation effectively, because he's stacking up. He's taking himself out of the play absolutely by going down here and getting stunned again, it looks like. Actually not yet, but going down there, taking himself out of the play and stacking these defenders up. Because when these defenders are both inside the bubble or both inside the goal here, they're not gaining a whole lot. The effect of having 2 goalies instead of 1 is, depending on who you ask, arguably worse than having just a single goalie, because the goalies can grab onto each other's limbs and it can get confusing, and you can have shots that shouldn't go in that do go in. So dragging the other defender who's holding onto you into the goal is an incredibly effective way of breaking off a tight man pressure if you can't break it off yourself. So he does a really good job of realizing that, turning what is a 4v4 into effectively a 3v3, as we just see basically these 2 players acting as basically only covering as much as 1 player would cover. And then again, we have this 2 player here, this player here, and this player here moving offense. And effectively, what is a 3v3 now? And again, Tony on the back line. But eventually does get back open. Again, just you see him here, just disrupting the goalie, keeping these 2 defenders locked up as as 1 defender. Doing a great job of just keeping them tied to each other, and doing a great job of not giving Wrath that 4th man that they want. Now, eventually, they do end up splitting up. But because, again, Wrath realizes that they're just getting tied up in the goal, we do see Link eventually break off, move forward. And then because he broke off, Tony moves back into being an open pass instead of trying to tie the defenders up. As soon as he is relieved of that pressure, he opens himself back up for a pass, receives it, and is able to move onto the backboard and get that point for him. So a really good job by Tony of recognizing that he's being really hard covered and doing an excellent job of not just trying to break the defender to 1v1, but by tying the defenders up, forcing the defender to actually drop the coverage on his own accord, and then getting back open for a pass and able to get that point for Synapse there. And moving to the fourth and final clip. We have a Wrath offense with a quick passing sequence down to the opposite end of the field. Finding a cross pass and an open three-pointer. Really quick point by Wrath there. Taking, I think, if the stats show up, they don't. But unfortunately, probably not more than 10 seconds there. Absolutely. Doing a great job. And you can see what exactly happened and why they decided to go with such an aggressive rollout. Is, again, Synapse is running this double chain. We can see here's one chain here. Getting to that first pass. But again, the pass goes deep, long. Now, chains are obviously fast. Chains can certainly chase down loose discs. But this is not a clear. This is a pass to that deep player who went straight through the right tunnel, if we look back here. Straight through, didn't even look for a pass. Didn't expect it to go to him at all. He's just getting open for that deep play to keep this chain moving. Get the disc as far away from this chain as possible so that the pressure is temporarily relieved, at least until they get there. Another thing that happens is because they're playing so aggressively, because Synapse has so little time to react, and because one of the things that double chain tries to accomplish is because you're putting so much pressure all over the field with a double chain, you're trying to give the team possessing the disc as little time as possible to make decisions. But Wrath does a good job of kind of spinning that around and putting the pressure on Synapse to make split-second decisions. And because they're being forced to make a split-second decision, if we keep an eye on Synapse's back chain here, we see two names there. You can barely see it, but you can through the block. There's got a second stack here. The stack breaks up. The pass goes down here. And the stack doesn't have enough time to make a decision, and so they end up choosing different decisions. One player sort of, again, if we look at the names here, it's really hard to see, especially since the map's not up, unfortunately. We see one player dives down towards the disc, trying to pressure the disc holder immediately, and one player tries to move back towards goal to cover the open goal. And either one of these options would have worked, but the key with doing a double chain, especially if you're on the back chain, is to make sure you're making the same decision as your partner. And what helps a lot with that is having one person whose job it is to make the decision. And no matter what decision they make, even if you disagree with it, if you're not the person who's in the driver's seat per se, it's your job to just go with whatever decision the driver makes and just try to get there. Because if they'd pressure this person, now it's hard to say what would have been the actual correct option, because again, if they'd pressure this player might have been able to this player might have made a mistake. They might have just taken a shot and missed. They might have felt a lot of pressure, maybe gone for a back pass or something. Who knows what they would have done if they would have been pressured. Again, we can see the forward chain pressures them, so that maybe they didn't need to jump that pass. Maybe they could have even jumped this one, or they could have gone back to goal and not conceded the three-pointer. But the biggest thing is that the stack needs to not break up. Because the stack broke up, because one player pressured down here and is left loading over here, one player tried to go back to goal, but again, he's not part of a stack. He's not moving quick enough. And so that cross pass does come in, and that is 3 points for Wrath. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. And again, this weekend coming up, we'll be going into the first Season 3 Cycle 1 Challenger Cup, which will be 5 teams from Diamond, Rusty Robots, Aurora Ignite, Anomaly, and Spartan, and 1 Master Team, Wrath, trying to compete for the bottom 2 spots of Master Tier. Wrath trying to defend their spot, and one of these teams, maybe 2, moving up. And we'll see what happens then. I'm super excited for it, and good luck everybody who's playing.